Good morning. We've got a little warm-up song for you. If you're ready and settled, sing along with us. If you're still settling in, take your time. I'm gonna lay down my burden down by the riverside, down by the riverside, down by the riverside. Gonna lay down my burdens down by the riverside. Gonna live in peace forevermore. I am living in peace evermore. 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 I'm gonna open my heart to love down by the riverside, down by the riverside, down by the riverside. I'm gonna open my heart to love down by the riverside. Gonna live in peace forevermore. I am living in peace evermore. 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 I'm gonna let my worries wash away down by the riverside, down by the riverside, down by the riverside. I'm gonna let my worries wash away down by the riverside. Gonna live in peace forevermore. I am living in peace evermore. 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 Let's say that last leg. I am living in peace evermore. One more time. I am living in peace evermore. Good morning and welcome to Unity of Walnut Creek. And we have a new song. It actually has been done a long time ago, so you might know it. It was new to me. It's called Spirit Loves to Dance. It's a call and response song. I'm going to sing the first line. You're going to echo me. Annie's going to echo me. And then for the chorus, we'll all sing together. All right, here we go. Eyes shine, feet dance, heart sing, when given a chance. Everybody, spirit loves to dance. Spirit loves to dance. Spirit loves to dance. Spirit loves to dance. Let's do that Wonderful. Thank you.
You know, we have great musicians here at Unity of Walnut Creek. And we want to say a special thank you to Larry and to Max, thank you, and to Tyler, and to Lisa, and to Annie. And we have a very special guest today, Jenny Landfield. And Jenny, we're so glad that you're going to be with us in just a few minutes. Thank you, thank you, thank you, guys. You add so much to our service. Thanks. Good job. Good job. Thank you. Good morning, Unity of Walnut Creek. I'm so glad to see your smiling faces this morning. It is so beautiful. I don't have to stand in front of that. Isn't that amazing? I get to move about. It is. So, hey, guys at home, we're glad you're there. We hope the computers are working this morning and all is well with the world. Thank you so much for being with us. We appreciate your presence. We know that you're here with us. Thank you. Unity is a positive path for spiritual living. That's why we come every week, so that we can learn more about that spiritual path. So congratulations for being here. Unity has a mission, and that mission is, in a loving community, we empower spiritual growth by modeling and teaching universal spiritual principles. And I invite you to affirm with me our statement of faith, which is, there is only one presence and one power in the universe and in my life, the all-loving goodness of God. Now sink down into your heart just a little bit deeper. And let's affirm this one more time together. There is only one presence and one power in the universe and in my life, the all-loving goodness of God. Thank you. Now, one of the most special times every morning is to say hello to new people. So if you're here with us for the very first time and you would like to, you can raise your hand in a second. We've got a gift for you. And it is a handmade by one of our congregants, a necklace of a dove. And that's a way that we can recognize you and tell you good morning if you want to be said good morning to. And if you don't, put it in your pocket, and that's okay too. But we'll have another gift for you out in the bookstore, so we encourage you to do that. So is there anybody here that's the first time that'd like to raise their hand? Sometimes we do, and sometimes we don't. And that's okay, because tomorrow's Labor Day, right? So they may be out laboring, doing other things today, or celebrating in some way. So maybe they'll be here next week. Thank you so much. Now for everybody else, there's a connection card in the seat pocket in front of you. We'd like for you to fill that out and let us know that you're here. If you have any comments, anything you'd like to let us know, any questions you may have, our staff will get back to you during the week. And the ushers will take those at the end of the service. Now's the time for you to get to stand up and tell your neighbors good morning. So you can shake a hand or give a hug and tell the neighbors around you good morning. Thank you.
How are you? Good morning. Yeah, Tyler. Rick? Rick? Yeah, Max. Max, that's right. Yeah. Met you about a month ago. Okay, cool. You guys just started, I think. Didn't you, like 2 months ago? Yeah, it's possible. I'm not here always.
Hello, my name is Mike. If your birthday is in September, we invite you to stand up so we can celebrate with us. So Unity is providing lunch for homeless people staying at the Concord Adult Shelter. If you're looking for a valuable way to give and nourish others, come and help prepare sandwiches on Saturday, September 9th, next Saturday, at 9:30. That'll be in the Unity Kitchen in the next building. Please sign up at the welcome table. And our spiritual learning classes begin September 11th. We have 3 great classes, 3 powerful instructors for 3 wonderful weeks. Kathleen Sims will teach us how to activate innate happiness and self-love. Carolyn Jansen will show us how to live life with more heart using heart math techniques. And Jill Shin will help us to go beyond believing that we're not good enough and remember the inherent goodness of who we are. And Unity of San Leandro invite us to a powerful international training addressing the collective shadow. Flyers are available on the welcome table. And now I'd like to invite Alexandra D. Avalon Abbott to tell us about that.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Buenos dias. I'm very excited to share that Reverend Denise is back on Saturday, September 16th, to share the Q process, which involves shadow work. My husband Richard and I have taken this course to better understand conflict and situations that make us uncomfortable. The Q process taught us 3 very important things. We identified and connected with powerful qualities and attributes of who we came here to be. We identified using these qualities and attributes, and we looked at our shadow beliefs surrounding a given situation. And as we saw our experiences under a new perspective, we were able to take authentic action. In other words, a healing took place. I encourage you to enroll in this class for an opportunity to transform. Remember, Saturday the 16th.
And now Reverend Kristen has something to share.
Yeah, thanks for that, Alexandra. I echo that. The Q process is a really wonderful way to do personal shadow work. And the other thing that Mike mentioned at San Leandro is for the collective shadow, and there are flyers out on the welcome table for that. So we've got lots of opportunities to work with the shadow. It seems timely to do that, doesn't it? So that's why we're bringing those opportunities forward. I have yet another opportunity for you, and this is for our fall series that we're going to be using the book The Hope by Andrew Harvey, A Guide to Sacred Activism. And throughout the fall series, we're not only going to have study groups looking at this book that has been praised as one of the most important works of our time in terms of helping the mystic, the person who's very versed in the inner life, to come forward and to act. And so it really helps support those of us who are living that inner life to do the outer work, the sacred activism, the social action, the getting involved in the community. And likewise, those who are really versed in that part, it helps temper the other side and work the sacred mystic, the inner work. So it's all about blending these 2 aspects, or the marriage of these 2 aspects. So I think it's really exciting work, and it's going to be a really exciting time this fall as we come together in groups. It will be the Sunday service message and then the groups in small groups of about 8 in people's homes. So what we're asking for today is if you'd like to be a part of this as a host or a facilitator, to sign up this week. And then once we have all our groups together, next week we'll put them out for the participants. So really search your heart and see if this is something you want to be a part of. It allows you to bring these teachings into a much deeper sense of self, but also to share with a group and then do service with your group as well. So great fall plan for you. And if you're thinking you might like to open your home or to facilitate a group, we provide training for the facilitators. Pam Austin will be at the table today if you have questions. Thanks.
So please take a look at today's bulletin. It's full of valuable details on these and other activities. And check your email for the latest September issue of Centerpoint. Now, let's enjoy another musical selection.
Radiant light shines through my holy spark. My heart takes flight, high as a meadowlark. God is infinite energy, living as me. We relax and abide. Love is flowing from deep inside. We are infinite energy. We are free. Free from illusion, we can live. Free from striving, free from greed. Free from pain and confusion. In every moment, we have more than we need. At our essence is love. Love is what everything's made of. We are infinite energy. We are free. In every moment, we are listening as we grow. Clearer and clearer. This is what we know. We're together in a brand new way. Being whole, being free. We're together as love, pure and living within the great sea. God is infinite energy, living as me. We are infinite energy. We are free.
Thank you, Jenny. That's beautiful. So we invite you to just stay in this beautiful meditative space as Susan leads us in the community prayer, and then we move into our full meditation.
Our reading today is an adapted excerpt from Rest by David White. When I am rested, I am the living exchange between what lies inside and what lies outside. When I am rested, I let things alone and let myself alone to do what I do best. Breathe as the body intended me to breathe. Move as I was meant to move. I am closest to the authentic self when I am most rested. To rest is not self-indulgent. To rest is to prepare to give the best of myself. Rested, I am ready for the world, but not held hostage by it. Rested, I care again for the right things and the right people in the right way. In rest, I establish the goals that make me more generous, more courageous, more of an invitation, someone I want to know.
I take rest. Peace, be still. I quiet my will. Peace, be still. I take rest. I rest my mind. Release control. Peace, be still. What is thy will? Peace, be still. I take rest. Peace, be still. I take rest.
So we rest. Resting in the infinite spirit. Resting our bodies and our minds. Allowing all busy thoughts to fall away now. And coming home to the breath. The simple cadence of breathing in and out. Allowing ourselves to truly settle in. To return to that authentic self in our rest with one in the silence. Even in this momentary pause, I am rejuvenated, renewed in body, mind, and spirit. Throughout my day, I take these momentary pauses, and life becomes easier. Everything flows from this still point of the dance, from this rest with the One. We give thanks for rest, and so it is. Amen.
I take rest. I take rest. Peace, be still. What is thy will? Peace, be still. I take rest. Peace, be still. I take rest.
The world runs fast, the spirit slow, to where we think we need to go.
When we move into passing gear, the song of love is hard to hear.
Till everything's so loud, we're alone with what's missing.
Listen.
Somewhere beneath the sea of noise, we hear the angel's whispered voice. The song is there, the words are clear, and all we need is still right here. Listen.
The harmony of wings in flight, the rising of the wind at night,
the breaking of the ocean waves will call the heart that's half awake.
the sound of every breath we take can free a soul from prison.
Whispered voice, the song is here, the words are clear, and all we need is still right here. Listen.
For all we're worth, the door to heaven is here on earth. The shout for joy, the softest prayer, the sound of love is in the air.
Somewhere beneath
Thank you, thank you. Music has really dropped me into the theme. How about you? Yeah. Years ago, I was in the ancient bristlecone pine forest. Has anybody been there before? It's near Big Pine, California. Oh, you must go. You must go. It's an amazing place. These trees, the ancient bristlecone pine trees, have been standing there for some of them longer than at the time when Buddha walked the earth, or Jesus walked the earth. It's quite something, isn't it? Think about that energy. And they're so beautiful. They're sort of a golden, many of the trunks are golden and gnarled from all the years they've been there, and in sometimes harsh conditions of very hot, hot weather. Can you relate to that? Maybe not a lot of water, but they somehow still stand. And the wisdom they carry is just incredible. So I approached them for the first time after my first vision quest. So I had been in the wilderness for over 2 weeks. And so I'd become very versed at the communication with the trees and the rocks and the land and the water. You know, after a while, we just sort of listen, if you will, as we get quieter and quieter in those kinds of spaces and realize we're never alone, right? All these living beings. So I found these 2 trees that were next to each other, and one of them seemed grandmotherly to me, and I remembered sort of resting up against her, and there was another one, a smaller one, that was connected to her, and she told me that was her daughter. And so as I was just, I was ready to get ready to go home, and at the time I had another congregation, Unity of Columbia. And so I was asking, the question was, what should I be taking back to my people? What is the message to take to the people? What message do you have who has been standing here, in this wisdom, out in this desert-like condition with just such grace and power? And I was so surprised at the simple message I was given. Take rest. That was it. And I was looking for more. You know how we are. We like to complicate it, right? What? There's got to be more. And that was it. That was the only message. Take rest. So I've really carried that with me, forgotten it, remembered it, forgotten it, remembered it. You know that routine. But realize what an important message that is, especially in our culture that tells us everything but. We're the get over it, move on, and do it faster and better kind of culture, right? And we're praised for that faster, better, efficient way of being. Certainly there's a time and a place for it, but this taking rest is a really, really important message. When we take rest, we're like the rest in music, right? How absolutely essential is that rest between the musical notes, so that we can really move with the rhythm of a song and drink it in, or dance it, Or that still point in a dance is both for the dancer and the one who observes the dance, right? The dancer grounds in that still point before the next set of movements. And we, as we watch, there's something about that rhythm that if there weren't that pause, we couldn't take it in quite the same way. And so it is with us if we don't have the pause in our movement, in our activity. And you say, well, of course I have the pause. I sleep every night. And well, that's not quite it. That's part of it. But we also have then maybe 16 or more hours a day that we are alive and moving. And what do we do with that time? And how do we balance the rhythm of action and rest? Tomorrow is Labor Day. So we're celebrating the idea of rest to give thanks for our labors and to take a moment to just be, or to play, which is also a part of rest, to renew ourselves in some way. Anybody know Louise Hay? And many of you probably know by now that she made her transition this week. Yeah, Louise made her transition, they say, peacefully according to natural causes in her sleep. at 90 years old. And she was so vibrant, wasn't she? You know, she was the one who really pioneered for many of us in this New Thought era, the idea of the body and the spirit being integral to one another, you know? And Louise, of all people, would always say, love yourself, right? And a way of loving ourselves is resting. That's one of the ways that we give to ourselves and therefore give to others. Wayne Muller is the author of many books, and one of them is The Sabbath. And in The Sabbath, he talks about the lack of rest. When we don't rest, when we lack rest, it's actually an act of violence on ourselves, on our children, on our planet. And so it's so essential for us to follow the natural rhythms of rest and action. When he talked about violence, it made me think too, and I've mentioned this before, that Gandhi talked about nonviolence and violence, of course, you know, and said that haste is actually an act of violence. And so this thing that we so hold up in our culture of efficiency and haste and more, better, faster can actually become this act of violence on one another and ourselves. So that brought me back to the very beginnings of the Bible and the mythical stories of creation. You know, of course, the Creator did what on the seventh day? Rested, right? Even the Creator, even the source, after 6 days of creation, rested on the seventh day. And in the story, of course, there is the beginnings, the first man and woman, Adam and Eve, and the first family. And we have Cain and Abel, the brothers. And Cain and Abel, so early in our human history, follow me in the story now, commit that first act of violence against one another. Remember, Cain murders his brother Abel. And why does he do this? So in the story, what happens is God comes to Cain and says, you know, Cain, why are you so angry? And it's just after what has happened where Cain is a tiller of the soil, the first farmer, if you will. So he's the one who's producing, you know, fruits and vegetables of the land. And Abel keeps the sheep, and so he's a little bit more freer and wandering. And they each bring their offering, as was the custom, to the altar for God. So Cain brings the offering of what he has created, and Abel brings the fat of the firstling of sheep. And Abel's offering is considered more favorable in God's eyes. So now Cain is angry. Now it isn't, I don't believe it's so much the offering that God is finding more favorable, but the way of being that Abel is embodying versus the way of being that Cain is embodying. Cain's metaphysically, Cain's name means possessor. And metaphysically, Abel's name means breath or spirit. And so Cain is so wrapped up in the physicality of possessing and producing that his whole worth is tied up in this idea of what do I produce and being recognized for what I produce. Where Abel's moving a little bit more freely as spirit and breath upon the earth. So the dialogue continues with God and Cain. Why are you so angry, God says? When you don't do well, sin is lurking at your door and you must master it. So we understand sin to be missing the mark. And we could even translate this passage to be, ego is lurking at your door and you must master it, Cain. You must understand what you really possess. It's not just an ego and not just this physicality of production, but it is also a spirit and the breath, the very spirit that I am. Cain doesn't see this yet. Cain is so angry that God has not recognized the fruits of his labor as favorable that he murders his brother. He misleads him out into the fields and he murders him. And of course, God knows. God says, where's your brother, Abel? And this is where that famous line comes in. Cain says, who am I, my brother's keeper? Yes, right? We are our brothers and sisters' keepers. And we are the brothers and sisters within us, the keepers of all of our related parts, right? So it's no mistake that in this story these two are brothers, because there are these aspects of ourselves that we are meant to keep. So God says, what have you done? Listen, your brother's blood is crying up from the earth. And he says, look, you no longer are you going to be able to reap anything from the earth. It's going to go dry on you. When you till the soil, nothing will come. I am going to have you wander upon the earth. God is trying to help Cain understand what it's like to move with a natural rhythm of spirit rather than to drive himself to keep producing and producing and producing. And Cain says, the punishment is greater than I can bear. So when we're offered rest, sometimes for many of us, there feels like there'll be great loss in that, right? If our worth is completely tied up in what we do and how well we do it and how much we produce and how much recognition we get for it, and we think, oh, if I take some time apart or if I rest, that it's going to take away from that rhythm of worthiness, then that will feel like punishment, right? For some, it's hard to slow down. Anybody relate to that? Yeah. We all know Cain. We know Cain within ourselves. We know Cain within our neighbors. We know Cain within each other in our society. And so we need to know both. We need to know the balance. Historically, this idea of rest is really woven through many cultures, not quite as much into ours, but the Spaniards are often noted for the siesta, right? And all the other related cultures that have taken on the idea of the siesta in the midday, a couple of hours of rest or elongated lunch and a nap or something festive as well as rest. But that actually was recorded much earlier in ancient Islamic law. In fact, it's even in the Quran to take rest midday. The Romans took midday naps. So it's not an unusual thing for cultures to build in this time of rest, this natural rhythm like the seasons or like nature does for itself. So what we need to do is simply to tune in and to trust, right? To tune into our bodies, because our bodies will tell us. When your body tells you it's tired, what do? It doesn't always need to be a long period of time. It can be a simple rest, right? A momentary kind of rest, a few breaths, a short walk, some fresh air, or a short time of prayer. So tuning into the body and asking the body what it needs, what kind of nourishment or rest it needs. Tuning into the mind, because when we're using our minds so much, sometimes it's just a little spaciousness. They say it's good for your eyes when you're staring at a computer screen to look away every 20 minutes. Give your eyes a rest, right? Our whole bodies need that. Our minds need that. So building this into the natural rhythm of our lives will cause us to be, as David White said in the reading that Susan read, more authentic. Rest will return us to our more authentic selves. So tuning in and trusting our bodies, our minds, and our spirits that are always calling us to come back to prayer, right? To take a moment to commune with Spirit, to drop into the silence and just listen. As a beautiful song that was just sung, just listen for the guidance, for the sense of rest, and the renewal that comes with it. I was on sabbatical years ago and took a 10-day meditation retreat. And that sounds like a wonderful way of resting, and it was. And I tell you, it's all about balance too, because after 10 days of meditating, I didn't really know how it had affected me. But Brenly picked me up, and we drove 5 hours home, and I talked nonstop from the moment she picked me up. I mean, I can talk, but usually I'm not that much of a talker. So all the way into the driveway, and she just looked at me and said, do you realize you've been talking ever since I picked you up? my mind had been just deprived, right? Or so it felt. And so it was that the mind wanting the balance of the busyness, right? The things to think about and to talk about and to express. So part of it is balance and blend and wholeness. But most of us, I think, tend to be more out of balance on the end of the rest and the internal time. So if we take the word rest, it can help us understand why we would want to, as a little mnemonic device. So the R is because it helps us relax, right? It's a relaxation. Rest in whatever form it is, the pause that we take is a form of relaxing the body, the mind, and everything else. When we are in a heated discussion, we all know, as many of you know from doing heart math, that pause to go into the heart, how important that is, right? Because when you pause, you sort of reset, and then something different and more meaningful and more connecting and more productive for the connection and the relationship happens. And so it is for us, that relaxation into spirit in its many forms is the R. And the E is energizing, because when we rest, we get energized. It can be an energizing thing to stop. You know, the Sabbath is really, in its true understanding, is a day of delight, a day of pleasure, a day of play. It's not just about napping and meditating. Those things may be a part. Dan Allender, the author of Sabbath, says, Sabbath is a holy time when we feast and we play and we dance and we sing and we pray and we laugh and then we laugh some more and we paint and we walk and we watch creation in its fullness. He says, few people are willing to enter the Sabbath and really sanctify to make it holy, because a full day of delight and joy is too much for most of us in a lifetime, let alone a weekly practice. But that's what the Sabbath is meant to be. I have two friends that really regularly practice Sabbath. One, it truly is Shabbat. She's Jewish, and she does the Jewish kind of approach with at sunset on Friday night, prayers over the wine and the bread and song and a delicious meal and completely unplugging. And she's a very busy spiritual teacher around the world. She's always doing retreats, and she's an author. And so for her to unplug completely, you know, that's 24 hours offline. And then and then between that sunset and the sunset of the next day, she and her husband just have languid walks, and they read poetry, and they have family over and friends, and they may have festive meals, but there is a sense of relaxation and play. And my other friend, that's not Jewish, simply does a 24-hour fast from being online. And so I always get that message, if I happen to connect with her, that says, I'm on my 24-hour Sabbath offline. And she does things like goes to yoga class, and she loves movies, and goes, you know, for coffee with her friends. So we can make our own Sabbath, is my point. You can make your own day of whatever it is. And each week can be different. But that idea of unplugging, isn't that a great idea for all of us? To just go offline. And your friends and family and people who normally get in touch with you, they'll come to know your rhythm. Okay, well, this is, you know, my friend's Sabbath time, so I know that I won't be able to reach her or him today. And to give that gift to yourself and to the world. So the E is energizing. The S is for success, because when we rest, we're actually more successful. When we rest from our projects and go back to them, we tend to be more creative and have new, fresh ideas. When we pull away from others who we're relating with and we come back, we tend to have more patience, more kindness, more openness, when we've taken that time to care for ourselves, to unwind in whatever ways we need to. Or the S could also be for silence, for that time of silence. I remember when I was in my 20s and I had a busy job and I was new to Unity, and I was really trying to incorporate the ideas of prayer and meditation into my life, and I wasn't always finding good places for that. So I just started during my lunch hour, taking 15 minutes of the lunch hour and I found this like favorite park bench, and I would just go there to sit in silence for 15 minutes by myself. And it was such a restart for me in the midday. So you can work it into your day. You know, it doesn't even have to be 15 minutes. You could set the chime on your phone, and at the top of every hour, you could just take a moment to breathe, to say your mantra or your affirmation, a short prayer, or just to connect with Spirit. To say the statement of faith that we say every Sunday here to yourself or out loud. When we rest, there is a tempering. That's the T. And tempering is fine-tuning. There's a fine-tuning of everything that we're up to in the world and who we are as a whole being. So we offer a sort of ourselves up in that kind of fine-tuning of whatever it is that we're doing. Or you could say the T is for tarrying. Tarrying is not a word we use very often, but it's sort of like dawdling, right? Or puttering, you know? I had a friend that was a master at this, Sandy. Sandy would just sort of shuffle everywhere she went. And she would stop along. She loved people, so she'd just stop all along the way and talk to people and make connections. And she had no concept of Chronos time, right? So this, you know, the clock, the calendar was not important to Sandy, which is so refreshing, right? Because a lot of times we enslave ourselves to that Chronos time. She was more about Kairos time. Kairos time is just sort of following the rhythm. And Sandy had this magic about her that when, you know, her friends would tell these stories about her, and one in particular that I remember, people who knew her really well, were taking her to this concert, and they were all at the concert, and they were all wanting to get through the crowd to get to the front of the line to see if they could get a table up front. And they apparently knew somebody or something. And so anyway, so Sandy is way behind, and she's meeting people in the crowd, and everybody's like, "Oh, where's Sandy? You know, we're not gonna get there. We're not gonna get the table. We're not gonna get the whatever." And they said time after time, when Sandy finally shuffled in, magically a table would open up. Well, they had all been standing there in stress, right, waiting. Or they would get backstage passes, or some like really cool thing would happen when Sandy finally arrived. Because Sandy was living more like Abel, you know, the breath, the spirit, the natural rhythm. And it's so refreshing when so many of us are starved for that, to be in the company of somebody who so embodies that. And that person could be you. You can blend these two ways of being and have that natural rhythm happening for you all the time. When we play or recreate, we rest, really, or we can rest in it. You know, even doing things we don't really want to do. I remember once I was cleaning the garage, and instead of just like moving through it, like get through it, get it over with so I can go on with my day and do something else, I decided, no, I was going to do it at the pace I really wanted to be moving that day. And it took me all day long. And I just puttered around the garage. And I tell you, it was so satisfying. So sometimes just letting yourself, you know, I'm just going to putter today. This is my day of rest. And I'll just see where Spirit guides me and leads me from this thing to that thing. The value of rest by now is probably pretty obvious. And you know it too. It's this increased vitality, really. Right? This increased clarity and creativity and connection. And the perils of not having rest can be depression and isolation and loneliness and illness, a sense of paralysis even when we don't rest, a sense of stress for sure. David White said to rest is not self-indulgent, but it prepares us to give the very best we have to give. Cain didn't know that. Cain didn't understand that we're the closest to our authentic selves when we allow ourselves this pause, this rest. And we are our brothers and sisters' keepers, the wholeness of ourselves. We are responsible for that wholeness, that health, that vitality, that wellness for ourselves. With a healthy dose of rest, of relaxation and energy, success, temperance, we can allow ourselves to be in that place, to be in that fulfilling place on the planet and in our lives and expression. If Cain had remembered that the life breath of spirit is actually what made him Abel, the ending of that story would have been a lot happier. So let's remember it ourselves. Take rest. Let's close out with an affirmation. Together, I pause and rejuvenate in spirit, and so it is.
How many of you take rest regularly? And how many of you are going to now? Good, good, good. That's why Kristen is up here every Sunday to help us remember what is truly important in this world. Wow. So let's do that thing again. I pause and I rejuvenate in spirit. Thank you. You know, guys, I wanted to tell you that Jenny writes her own music. Not only is she a beautiful singer and pianist, but the words are her own, and she's got beautiful music. Thank you so much, Jenny. Thank you. Whew. So our prayer chaplains are here this morning. If you need that very personal connection with Spirit and another person, our prayer chaplains are here to pray with you this morning, and you can find them after service. They have the lovely lavender stoles on so that you can easily recognize them. And now it's time for our prosperity celebration. Let's open our hearts and consciousness to the law of universal circulation, which is, as we give, so shall we receive. And in truth, we all know that there's no lack or limitation, because we are truly abundant. There are a variety of ways that you can give to Unity. For credit card donations, you can do push pay, or you can use that envelope in the back of your seat if you need a credit card donation and fill that out and give it in the offering basket. You can also push pay on your smartphone. And those of you at home, we don't forget about you. We know that you want to also participate. You can push pay or click donate on the Watch Live page. Now, the music's going to be extra long this morning because we've had some requests that people would like to donate to the victims in Houston. So I know you've already done your offering for the normal offering, and if you would like to do a second check or something, please put it in an envelope and name it Houston, and we'll make sure that those gifts get down to them, okay? Whew. So now it's time for our blessing. I encourage you to take your tithe offering and your love offering in your hand and repeat with me. Together, divine love, one with me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. I am joy-filled and grateful. Thank you for being here this morning.
All right, so maybe we'll spend our Sabbath walking with the Spirit. I'm walking with the Spirit. I'm talking with the Spirit. I'm learning with the Spirit. I'm turning to the Spirit. I'm growing in the Spirit. Yes, I am. It's showing with the Spirit. You know, I'm walking with that Spirit in front of me. Yeah, let me tell you, when I find myself in one of those situations, you know, it's leading to some kind of a drama or confrontation, I go within, I get plugged in to my friend before it's too late. I put Spirit in front of me, you know, I make those crooked places straight. I'm walking with the Spirit. I'm turning to the Spirit. I'm growing
showing in the Spirit.
I'm walking with the Spirit in front of me. When I find myself in one of those situations, you know, the ones that I don't know what to do, I ain't got no explanation. I go within, I get plugged in, and I get my revelation. 10 times out of 9, things will work out fine without my participation.
I'm walking with the Spirit.
You know I'm talking
with the Spirit.
I'm learning
from the Spirit.
I'm growing
to the Spirit.
Yes, I'm growing
in the Spirit.
And it's showing, yes it is. You know I'm walking with that Spirit in front of me.
I'm walking with the Spirit.
Now I'm
talking with the Spirit.
I'm learning
from the Spirit.
You know I'm turning
to the Spirit.
I'm growing. We're growing. Every one of us. It's showing
in the Spirit.
Yes, I'm walking with the Spirit in front of me. Come on, everybody. I'm walking with the Spirit in front of me. Yeah. I'm walking with that Spirit in front of me. Right in front of
Tyler and the Temptations, everybody.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Pipettes.
Let's bless our gifts. We give thanks both for our gifts to Unity of Walnut Creek and also to Houston. Unity of Houston is going to distribute these good gifts for us to all the places where we see our brothers and our sisters held up in the light and the love of God. We see rebuilding and celebration coming down the road, and we honor the feelings that are present now. Thank you, God, for this community and for our ever-increasing good. Let's say our affirmation together. We give thanks for the ever-increasing, unceasing flow of absolute good in our lives now. Let's welcome our children in with Marching in the Light. We are marching in the light of God. 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 We are marching, marching, we are marching, marching, we are marching in the light of God. We are marching, marching, we are marching, marching, we are marching in the light of God. All right, children and teachers, we'd like to bless you. Would that be all right? All right, let's do it. Youth and teachers, you are loved, special, and important. The light of God shines through you. I invite you now to join hands with your neighbor as we close out with a prayer of protection. And it's on the screen together. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.
save a moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
You are the light and the love and the peace on earth right now. So let your light shine and have fun. You got it? I tapped nice to make this work.
And your voice is very important.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, big part of it. Yeah. Well, if you ever hear that there's communicating about that,
But I've been out of my home for a month because of mold in my house.
Oh, you had to take care of all of it? Oh my gosh, that's huge. Did you guys, so were you guys put up, okay, so insurance covered you guys, oh.
Well, Rossmore, it's their building.
Oh, Rossmore, oh, Rossmore, oh.
So I just happened to be in a place that,
Oh, I had no idea. What a, whew, that's huge. Oh my gosh, dear Lord.
I haven't been to a lot of meetings. My energy is, I'm spending all the time finding experts, and
Oh my gosh. Oh yeah.
it's been a real interesting road, and it's just begun.
Wow. Wow. Oh, that's huge. You know, it's interesting. I've always had suspects that there's our house that we're in because we're down, we're sunken from 2nd Avenue, and we have issues with water in the winter. You know, and I've always suspected we had somebody come in and put plastic tarp under the entire house at one point.
Under the slab. Under the slab. Not under
We don't
the
have
carpet.
it. The house isn't on slab.
Oh, it's on?
It's up.
Well, I'm going to encourage you.
But to get testing, maybe I'll email you and you can send me the name of people, because
Wonderful.
I've always had suspicions, because I've always felt better health-wise when we've gone to travel or, you know, taking trips and I'm away from the home.
It has affected my memory. It's affected my daughter's memory. 45 years old, and she's losing her memory.
Wow. Okay. Oh,
It's affected
interesting.
my lungs. It's affected my eyes.
Yeah. Well, I'm so allergic to everything anyway, and
Oh, honey, it's a given. You
over
should find
the
out.
years, okay, because over the years, what's happened is that I went gluten-free 5.5 years ago, and inflammation was gone. I was doing so well, and then all of a sudden, this last year, you know, stuff has come back, and so I'm being tested by a woman who does SIBO. I don't know if you know that, small intestine bacterial overgrowth.
And who is that?
Dr. Sarah Ferguson in Lafayette. She's excellent.
I'd like to have her name.
Excellent. So I just got the kit. She sent for the kit. Matter of fact, she's on a trip now for 3 weeks, so I won't see her till, you know. She charges, like for the consult was I think $240 or $240, and they bill Medicare.
Pfizer, so they can't bill.
Okay.
However, my doctor charges every 15 minutes.
Oh.
So it's $400 an hour.
Wow.
And
wow.
He wrote a letter for me, and it was $530.
Wow.
So every minute I spend.
Wow.
So
she isn't that.
That's shameless.
Yeah. That was
200.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway,
so he's got me on an antifungal diet.
Okay. To try to get your system cleared out. Oh my God, yeah. Because I you know, Frank doesn't believe in any of this stuff.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll see.
But I'll turn this on. Oh my God. So it's either cut down or not. But then you can turn it off. There we go.
Right before I get up and sing the song, it's written, but I have no idea. Until I hear the first.
Like they would go to like people with Alzheimer's, for example. I mean, this is the case with I think several kind of like degenerative brain diseases, but they did this study with like Alzheimer's patients. You know, there was like this one guy who had been like a classical pianist, and also he was like he couldn't find my but he took a ton of the piano. He still has an entire repertoire. He played all of it. In fact, when he was playing, he could remember other things too. Yeah. And I used to play in Alzheimer's Center with some friends, and like, we would do like mostly old jazz tunes. Yeah. And which they all grown up listening to. And so it was like, we came in and everyone would and then we start playing, they all kind of perk up, they start talking. They're like, they're singing, they're shouting out requests, like, it's just like everyone just comes to life for like the hour, It's super cool. It was really fun. Exactly.
That was one of the greatest things I ever heard someone want to do with a life. Congratulations.
Like you just got it, both of them. Yeah. But that's I'm okay. Their Booker, he's lazy, then just Like I played last night, but I didn't hear about it until Wednesday. He asked me if I wanted to play Wednesday, and I didn't have the full band until Friday. So it was like, and that's how it's been here. So it's hard to invite people because like I don't even know I'm gonna have the band sometimes the night before. But now,
there's that Facebook group.
Yeah, it's true. Well, at any rate, now we're
Regular restaurant.
No, they don't serve steak. You
can't microwave the steak. Which is good if you want.
I've heard all kinds of things about
everything that we went there one time, everything we got is like the microwave. Remember that? That's the one.
Yeah.